Well, good morning. This is Dr. Brad at Your Health Reclaimed. Today we have another very interesting, very exciting guest. This has been really an interesting adventure, bringing people on from all kinds of backgrounds. And this is a very expressive person that went through some real rough times in her life. And we're going to just open up talking about that and what that really means, how she came out of that, and how you process these things. So this is Alisha. Welcome, Alisha. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm Alicia. I'm a mind-body mentor now, which pretty much means that I just help people heal the emotional root cause of their illness. I used to be a chemical engineer, so it's a long story how I got from that to this, and it's essentially because I had my own journey with depression, suffering for like 5 years, trying everything to heal. Nothing was working for me until I found mind-body medicine. Then I just became really passionate about like what else I could heal about myself now that I had healed like the main thing that I was trying to heal. And then from there, I just kept healing more and more things. I started to heal physical illness as well, like acid reflux that I had to take medication for every day, and bladder issues and all these types of things. And from there, it just became a passion.
That's really, really interesting. Did you ever figure out what caused the depression?
Yeah, so it was a relationship. It was a guy that I was dating. He had a lot of anxiety, and so I knew that if I made him anxious that he would leave, because I saw him do that with like other girls that he would try to date before that. Like he was not able to go on a second date with a girl. He'd go on a first date and then he'd feel so anxious, be throwing up. Middle of the date, he has to leave to go to the bathroom to throw up, and then driving to the date, he has to pull over to throw up, and it would be so bad that he would never go on a second date. And so I knew that if I made him anxious that he would leave. So I was like, "Hey, I can't make him anxious." So then I would suppress everything I was feeling. So if he did anything that was upsetting me, I wouldn't tell him, and I would act like everything was fine, and I wouldn't ask for what I wanted or needed. And that level of suppression is what led me to having depression. I think I was suppressing my sensitivity and my emotions my entire life, but now I was doing it to a whole nother level.
Yeah. The hormonally, there's a huge tie between both of those. One of the biggest root causes of depression and anxiety is burnout adrenal glands. And the stress of trying to maintain a dysfunctional relationship is extremely stressful. How
Hmm.
long did that relationship last?
Like 2 years, but we were friends for
Wow.
2 years before that. Yeah.
So you're the first one to break the chain of one date only.
Exactly. I'm the only person he was ever able to date, but that's because I suppressed everything I was feeling, which most people don't do, and that's why he couldn't date anyone else. He had to date someone that knew he had anxiety and was like actively trying to make him not anxious, which most people are not
And
willing to do unless you're afraid to be alone, which I had an abandonment wound from my dad leaving. So I think he could only date someone who was afraid to lose him and would have just like tried to make everything like happy and fun all the time. Otherwise, I don't think he would have been able to be in a serious relationship with anyone. And also, we were friends for 3 years first, so there was like a level of comfort.
yeah, but you essentially became somebody else. You allowed your personality to die
Mhm.
to try and nurture that. That is something that did you have anybody to speak into your heart as to how dangerously bad doing something like that is?
No, and in fact, I think I learned this behavior from my mom because she knew that my dad was cheating on her with like prostitutes and things like that. And she was like, ignorance is bliss. Like, I don't want to know, you do your thing. Like, I think she didn't want to have that type of relationship with him. So she was just glad that he was getting it somewhere else and that she didn't have to do that. And so she was just okay with like being treated really poorly. And it taught me and my sister on some level, like, that that's okay. Like I think she was doing it to have his support because, he would support us financially and things like that. So she was afraid to lose him in that sense. So then she wouldn't say, "Oh, I'm actually very hurt that you're doing this," you know? So
Yeah.
that's why I think I never had someone to tell me how destructive that is.
Yeah, so you grew up in an enabling household of pretty severe dysfunction. Is that type of behavior one of those endemic things in your culture?
It's I don't know about the cheating thing, but it is very like shame is a big thing in the Indian culture where like you're taught like if you're not educated or all these types of things, like no one's going to want to marry you. And so even before that, my mom had to lie about her education in order to even get my dad to marry her. And so then when they did finally get married and then he realized that she lied about that, the marriage already started off like horrible, and then from there he felt lied to and betrayed, and I think that's why he went on and did all these other things. So I wouldn't necessarily say that cheating is about a cultural thing. It has more to do with if the person doesn't value themselves, then yeah, they would attract someone that would cheat on them. And so if they're carrying a lot of shame, then they don't have a lot of self-worth and self-love, and they don't value themselves, and then that could lead to your partner cheating, or you even attracting a partner that would cheat.
It's interesting. I've traveled all over the world, and that is endemic in many cultures. Like going over to Russia as the Berlin Wall was coming down, and that might even be an opinion before you were born. That was back in 1989.
Yeah, that was.
It, it amazed me that with communism, the self-worth is so beat down that the only way people could get in, you couldn't get your self-worth from fulfillment in anything. The wages you could acquire were upside down of everywhere else in the world. The people in the higher levels of education and work got the lowest pay.
Yeah.
The janitors got paid the most. And the only place left for any of them to get any kind of self-worth was in bed. So it was really common, say a trucker, for example. He got paid to be a trucker, but there was nothing to truck. So he could go get his daily allotment of petrol. What do you do with it? Nothing. So you could go to a checkpoint and sell that to some European trucker and get a bunch of money. You can go buy a bunch of vodka, do that, and you have nothing better to do. You drive down the road drunk as a skunk with a truck and pile it up on a straight road. There's no curves or anything. I mean, just these wild, twisted wrecks. And everybody had a mistress, and all of these things. You look at that and you go, wow, it's amazing. You talk about self-worth. When somebody grows up in a dysfunctional home, it's really, really a difficult thing to get a hold of a healthy sense of self-worth.
Yeah.
And it sets the stage for this relational dysfunction it's too normal in too many societies. The people that don't grow up in that, they don't see it. And there's no check and balance when you get a relationship.
Yeah, and I actually thought that I didn't have any issues because I was always attracted to guys that were so respectful, like so kind, like the type of guys that you just don't think exist. And so I thought that I didn't have any issues and that it didn't have an effect on me. But then I started to realize, like, even though I'm dating these guys that are so respectful, there's still something about each one of them that's either distant or they're carrying a lot of fear or they're carrying a lot of shame. Like they were carrying the same energies as me, but it took dating multiple guys for me to see that because each guy looked totally different. The guy before the anxiety guy, he was like really jealous. Like he would like cry if I'm like talking to another guy. Like that's how jealous he was, like he I mean, I have so many stories about the things that he did, but let's just say like overly jealous, was not happy for me, didn't want me to be friends with guys, all these types of things. And then I went and dated someone after who didn't seem jealous at all. And so they seemed like two completely different people, but they were both carrying fear It's just the first guy was afraid to lose me, so that's why he was acting like super insecure and super jealous. But then the guy with anxiety was also carrying a lot of fear, because fear and anxiety go hand in hand. So he was just showing up in a different way. So yeah, so it took dating multiple guys for me to realize, like, oh, they're reflections of me and they're not actually that different.
Interesting. Do you know where self-worth comes from?
From love?
It's a really interesting thing when you look at research from the Family Council. About 75% of a person's self-worth comes from a father or
Mm-hmm.
father image. And when you look at people in prisons, in the sex work arena, in the drug arena, they have a common thread. 75% of them had no positive father image. Absentee, might have been around, but just not interactive at all the way to never knowing who their father is.
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely see that. My dad left multiple times. He left when I was like 10 for about 9 months or so. Then he came back. Then he left again when I was 16, had an affair, married that person. But even when he was around growing up, he was so distant. Like, he was so checked out that he would like smoke around the house and not care that it was affecting me and my sister or my mom. For a while, he would like do it in the garage, but then he even stopped doing it in the garage and he would do it in the house. Like, that's how checked out he was. So even when he was there, he was distant and checked out. So I know I don't really remember getting a lot of love from him, and he was very tough on us too.
Yeah. And for a young woman, that makes her just a vulnerable target
Hmm.
because she doesn't have this base of self-worth.
Yeah.
Something that I thought was interesting is I got involved. I grew up in an extremely dysfunctional home. You know, I got 30 years of prison ministry under my belt, and when the inmates, whenever they'd act up about how bad their upbringing was, I'd just open my mouth for a few seconds on how bad mine was, and never failed to shut a prison down.
Hmm.
They just quit, and they realized I didn't live there. They did, I didn't, and they realized, okay, you can get out of this from that. But forget where I was going with that. The Lord got a hold of me when I was pretty young, and he turned me into somebody that I'd never met in my life. I spent a lot of time with youth just helping them realize their dreams with no compensation, nothing. I just did it.
Hmm.
And watching all of the ones that the Lord had me spend time with, their self-worth just elevated. And they all became assets in society with the ability to really build healthy, lasting relationships because somebody valued them enough to help them realize their dreams. And there was no compensation in it.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
sounds like something you have not had.
Yeah, I definitely didn't have that growing up at all.
And that is one hallmark of anybody ever talks to you about how you can find whether a relationship's healthy or not.
How to define if your relationship's healthy or not? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Any certain things to look for?
I mean, I wasn't taught that. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Have you figured it out?
I mean, so I study a lot of books on this stuff, but I haven't incorporated it or practiced it. So we'll see how it goes when I actually start dating someone more seriously. But I have some ideas.
Yeah. One of the biggest things that can tell whether it's healthy or not is there's a couple that are top of the list. If they can be comfortable around your friends, your
Hmm.
family, and interact with you with them around, that's one huge thing that
Hmm.
if they don't allow that, they're a flaming narcissist and you just got to run because they want to control everything. But the other one with that is they sacrifice to make your life better. In healthy relationships, both sides of the fence, sacrifice their own dreams, their own desires to help fulfill whoever they're relating to is. And when that's happening on both sides, there's a give and take on both sides. Nobody's counting points as far as that goes to see what's really going on. But it's one of the things to let you know whether someone is coming at a relationship for a healthy, interactive reason.
Yeah. I read a lot of books about polarity in relationships, like the masculine feminine dynamic, and how if you don't have that, that's why a lot of relationships, like after the honeymoon phase, never get that passion back because they're in the same energy at the same time. So they're both in their masculine energy at the same time, like taking care of the house, doing the tasks, taking care of the kids, or they're both in their feminine energy at the same time. When they both feel like relaxing or slowing down, they're doing it at the same time. So then there is no polarity. Like one person has to be in their masculine while the other person has to be in their feminine. So I read a lot of stuff about that, how polarity, presence, devotion are like the main pillars to conscious relationships. And I'm just ready to start practicing this stuff. Once I find someone who I want to see something or that I see something serious with. Because when I've tried to practice these things with someone that you can tell they're not looking for something serious, it just doesn't work because that devotion piece isn't there. So then how could I feel safe to practice these things with you? So yeah, I study this stuff a lot, and I've even read, I have like some books that I love. One of them is called The Queen's Code, and it's about understanding men so that you understand how they think differently than women, so you're not upset when they aren't doing things the way that you would want them to or expect them to, because you understand like that's just not how they think, or that just because they do that doesn't mean that they don't love you. That's just not their way of showing love. And so that's been really helpful for me to understand that better and not take things personally if you're not showing love the way that I would show love.
Well, women are made more loving, men are made more around respect. And there's a book called Love and Respect that really gets into that quite a bit. Mm-hmm. But something that I think is interesting, I've got an insane amount of time doing personal ministry things. And the reality is men and women are looking for the same thing. Mm-hmm. They're both looking for commitment, security, looking for people that will cover their backside. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty simple in a lot of different ways. Men and women, they kind of approach that a little bit different angle, but after you've had a relationship for a while, they're both looking for the same thing.
Yeah.
And its expression isn't really that much different. Like you take intimacy, the only way you can really get fulfillment, long-term fulfillment with that, is commitment. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And being a woman, you need a man who loves your soul, loves your spirit. As if they love your soul, they're going to treat your physical body with the ultimate tenderness and respect and mm-hmm. honor.
Yeah.
And they'll cover and make that arena absolutely, totally safe, covered and secure, so you always feel protected in it. And that's pretty much on both sides when you look at relationships falling apart. That's not happening on at least one side, oftentimes both. Mm-hmm. And it's huge. You know, you're a very attractive woman. You could attract men for a lot of wrong reasons. And it's nice to know some measuring rods on how you can tell what something is good. If you have friends or family that are invested in you, bring your relationships around them and have them speak into that. But that the caveat with that is they got to have something that's healthy themselves. And doesn't sound like you had that in your own household.
No. And like when I look at other people's relationships, there's hardly any that I look at and I'm like, I want what you have. But there
Hmm.
are, like my mentor, her relationship, I would say only the people that are like, I guess, really into transformation and self-healing are the ones that when I see their relationship, that's something that I would want. Like, I don't know, I just find that people that aren't doing any inner healing work, then the way it shows up in their relationship, like you can see it even when you're just like hanging out with them, even if they're not having an argument, you can still feel like the way they interact with each other. Like kind of what I was talking about earlier, like when you're in the same energy at the same time. So like if you're
Hmm.
both in your feminine energy at the same time and you're both expressing that you're upset at the same time, then there ends up being no resolution. It turns into an argument versus if someone's in their feminine while the other person's in their masculine, aka when someone's expressing how they're feeling, the other person's just holding space, and then you can swap and they can express that they're upset and then you can hold space. But when people are saying they're upset at the same time, like, I was upset when you did this, well, I was hurt when you did this, and then you just keep going back and forth, and then you realize like that's why arguments happen and then they don't get resolved and people fight all the time. And so I would be really wanting a partner that's curious about learning these types of things, like what I actually need when I'm upset, and then I learn what they need when they're upset, and actually giving that to each other instead of assuming that we know best.
Yeah. As you're talking, I just got a flash of being down in Mexico. We're sitting in one of the palapas down there, which is a thatch hut out on the beach overlooking the ocean with a couple of ministers. One of them looks like he's comes from a biker gang, just tattoos all over, just hard face, and his wife sitting next to him just looks like she's a doormat. No motion, no checking out. If you asked her a question, she'd kind of look up. She wouldn't quite meet your eyes, and then her head to just go back down to looking like 3 feet in front of her feet in
Yeah.
seconds. And you just go, oh man, this woman is just crushed. And start talking to him. We dealt with the root issues of what that was spiritually in that palapa. And I asked the husband if he had any idea how to fulfill his wife intimately. And he just looks up and he goes, no. And the pastor I've been working with down there, I said, you need to spend some time and teach him. You
Yeah.
need you need to fix this because this is not going to last. You need to do that. The next time I saw him, I don't know how much longer, how much time had passed. She was pregnant. They're sitting next to each other and they didn't stop touching each other.
No.
And you just go, that's just God. It's just God that took them both from being this totally checked out thing that we dealt with in that palapa and had this pastor that I've been working with down there bring him in, give him some tools and some interaction. It was just life transforming. And that's one of the things when you see couples, when they just love to touch each other, they got something that almost nobody does.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. So this brought you into suppressing your own emotions and basically killing who you are. And you did that for a couple of years.
Yeah.
This talk has been really dynamic, but it's getting long. So we're going to cut this short right here, and we'll continue this in the next episode. Tune in next time for part 2 of this dynamic talk with Alisha.